All right. So thank you, everyone. And today we are joined by Chloe Ballatore, and she is a relationship and communication expert and a graduate of Princeton University and the One Institute. She teaches men, women, and couples to balance their yin and yang energies through conscious communication. She is the author of the book, How to Live, Find Love, and Keep It. And she'll share her best tips on how to consciously live, date with purpose, and find new love. So, Chloe, I will turn it over to you and we will save our questions until the end.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Kerry. And it's really nice meeting everyone here. As she said, my name's Chloe Ballatore, and I'm a relationship and communication expert. And I use the tools of Eric Berne's transactional analysis and Pat Allen's androgynous semantic realignment to help you balance your feminine and masculine, also known as yin and yang energies, to help you get what you want out of life, and specifically out of your most intimate relationships, because that tends to be where we're most triggered, where our childhood trauma issues come up, where any PTSD issues come up, is usually in our most intimate relationships. And the basis of my work is really to identify if you want to primarily hold the feminine energy in your relationship or the masculine energy in your relationship. So I'll give you a quick download because there's a lot of people who don't understand. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what's masculine and what's feminine. Like everyone was like, oh, Trump is toxic masculine, but actually Trump was dominated mostly by feelings, which is a feminine trait. So that would drive me crazy. And now we don't have to talk about him anymore. But basically, feminine is passive, patient, vulnerable. Okay, this is the yin energy. Feminine is in the world to make it fun, but it's not of the world. Feminine is spiritual. It's the right brain. It's anything that's creative, non-linear, artistic. The metaphor for feminine is flowers. Okay. Masculine, competitive, conquering, and controlling. Masculine is of the world. This is the world of ideas, okay? Most of us are masculine at work. Masculine is giving, nurturing, taking care of. The metaphor for masculine is bricks. Okay, now everybody has both, right? We have a feminine side and a masculine side. And this is scholarship that dates back thousands of years. The Chinese were credited with the concepts of yin and yang, but they're probably even older than that. And then we have more recent scholarship, let's say like in the last 100 years, Roger Sperry, the Nobel Prize winning biologist who did experiments on newts' brains, which proved to us that we have that left side of the brain that's more linear and the right side that's more artistic and nonlinear, right? And then we also have the work of Carl Jung and Freud. Carl Jung defining consciousness as the balance of your feminine and masculine energies. So I really like this work because, we hear a lot of terms thrown around these days, consciousness and manifestation and alignment. And I like those ideas, but I never knew how to put those ideas into practice in my life until I learned this work. And so this work, what I really teach it's a program in behavioral changes. So you have actionable tools. And when you use these tools, you will see changes in your life very quickly. So only do this work if you want your life to change, basically. And it's always changing for the better, because when you do this work, you tend to level up everything, and again, that's something that people throw around a lot. It's like, oh, level up, everybody's leveling up. But this work, I actually noticed it's true. So when I started doing this work, it's not that you end up getting everything you want, but you do have a strategy to get the things that you want. And even when you don't get the things that you want, you end up leveling up as a person, right? And conscious people want to evolve on this planet. There are some people here who just want to eat sandwiches and then die, right? They're kind of going through the motions. But conscious people want to evolve. And so it's kind of a win-win situation doing this work, because whether or not you get what you want, you get this guy, you don't get this guy. What I see with my clients is it's either going to work out with this guy or you're going to find someone better. And I see it all the time. I had my own experience with this work. I was introduced to it about 10 years ago by my neighbor. And the reason that I got into it was because I saw over a period of like 2-3 years, her entire life change. She was a single mom, a teenage mom. She wasn't a widow, but she was not, she was always struggling financially. She wasn't married. And she went on to literally making $1 million a year, marrying the hottest guy. Okay. And, you know, basically her whole life leveled up. And so I said, I want me some of that. So I got dragged into going to this group, and I saw the wisdom in it. And that was about 10 years ago. At that time, I was having trouble.
We lost you there for a second, Chloe.
She's on mute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I think that was on my end.
Yeah, because I didn't touch it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was adding someone and I guess I got click happy.
I mean, I haven't even gotten to the hard part yet.
I know.
So yeah, the hard part. So it is work, right? Doing work and making changes, that's always painful, because the brain does not rewire itself on pleasure. It rewires itself on pain. And, you know, as you guys know, pain is a part of life. We can't have pleasure without pain. Again, that's that duality of the yin and yang. And we see that everywhere in life, right? We have day and night, we have yin and yang, we have pain and pleasure. Duality is a feature of life on this planet. But I prefer the pain of change to the pain of change needing to take place. Okay. So a lot of people don't understand that when you do this work, even though it's good for you, when your brain is rewiring, you will experience pain. Okay. And that's not a bad sign. The pain that you experience is usually the pain that you've repressed or suppressed. Repression is 3 and under, so you don't even have access to those memories. Suppressed is 3 and over, is over 3. And that's when you're consciously suppressing feelings. And a lot of us have to do that as coping mechanisms, right? Especially as children, if you had any kind of trauma in your childhood. Oftentimes, one of the coping mechanisms we learn is, how to behave, how to please, how to stay on good terms with the people who own the refrigerator. And sometimes that necessitates suppressing your feelings, okay? But as we get older, all that stuff needs to come out, or it will manifest in the body as disease. And so when that is all coming out, it can look like, oh my God, things are getting worse because I'm crying all the time. But actually things are getting better. So that's something that I really help walk people through in doing this work. Okay, so my understanding is that most of you guys are single. Is that correct? Is that right, Kerry?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, but I would say it's a good mix in the group. Probably people like in the early stages of dating. We have some remarriages, but I think overall we're just kind of figuring things out, after a loss.
Okay, so let me give you some strategies that I give all my single clients that will help. And the first thing you have to identify is, do you want to have your feelings cherished first, or do you want your thoughts respected first? Okay, everybody wants both. But alpha women, all alphas have a strong feminine side and a strong masculine side. And that means that your head and your heart are always arguing, okay? Now, feminism has given us that seat at the table in the work world, but that was an economic movement more than it has been a psychological movement. And like I mentioned earlier, most people are very masculine at work. It's like, you're doing your ideas, you're competing, you've got all this stuff, which is the world of the masculine. But what a lot of us really intelligent women, and especially, women do, I mean, this has been studied. I'm not, breaking news here, but women have bigger brains than men. We have this huge corpus callosum at the front of our brains that is the limbic brain. Okay. So women are incredibly capable and we can do it all, but do we want to do it all? Because then you get into a burnout stage. And unfortunately, this has kind of been an unfortunate side effect of feminism, because it's like, we can do it all, so we're doing it all. And now I'm exhausted and I just want to die because my life's not enjoyable anymore. So when I started doing this work, one thing that I had to realize was like to rein it back in and to be in a place where my man could, and it doesn't have to be a man, it can be a woman, but where the masculine energy in my life could give to me and I could receive. Look, this is a gender-free zone. A masculine energy person can also be a woman. And maybe some of you women here want to get your thoughts respected first. That means you want to have the masculine energy in the relationship, okay? For me, I was really, really masculine. I'm still masculine, obviously. I'm intelligent. I'm all into the world of ideas and all that. I'm smart. I'm probably smarter than my husband, but I sit back and I let him do the work now. I don't try to control him anymore. I'm in more of a receiving zone. And as a result, my life is a lot more enjoyable and I'm a lot less resentful of him. A lot of women who were raised either in single parent households or especially female children who are the oldest are raised very masculine. So I was in that situation and I was definitely raised to only acknowledge my thoughts, to only be valued for my achievements, and that my feelings were not important. Okay. So when I started doing this work, it was a really big change for me. And I was an abused child. And so a lot of us who were abused as children aren't real eager to go and be vulnerable in our relationships. But that's a necessary thing that I had to learn how to do, as scary as it was and as triggering as it was. And so that's also what I help people with. So identify which one you want. I'm going to workshop what like some of the flirting and the dating tips are if you want to be in the feminine, but you can also take the other side because I'll also explain what the masculine side would be. So if you're single, first thing I tell you, the 5 flirts. That means 4 walking flirts a week and 1 seated. So you're walking, you're at Bed Bath & Beyond, you're at the grocery store, you're out on the sidewalk, wherever you are, you see someone that catches your eye, you give them 5 seconds of eye contact and smile. And you got to count it out because 5 seconds is longer than you think. So it's like 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Okay. That's the signal to the masculine energy that they can approach. Now, first person who speaks is masculine. So if you want to be in the feminine, you do that. If you're into the masculine, then you got to look for somebody giving you that eye contact. Okay. And then you make your approach. At 1 day a week, you're going to station yourself somewhere. Maybe it's a Starbucks across from the fire station. Maybe it's the Polo Grounds, a hotel bar, wherever you think people you like will be that you're interested in are going to be hanging out, and you can play with it and have fun with it. But you plant yourself there for 45 minutes to an hour. And then same thing, when you see someone that catches your eye, you do the 5 seconds of eye contact with the smile and you see who comes and approaches you. Now, don't go with a girlfriend, or if you do, don't sit together. You guys can like reconnoiter later, but traditionally, masculine energy people do not want to approach a group, okay? That will be too intimidating. So you definitely want to be alone. And then my next piece of advice on that is, even if you're not sure, you don't think that you like the person, If you're single, I want you to, and you don't have like an alarm going off in your head, like, oh shit, this guy is dangerous, or your gut instinct isn't going crazy, go on the date. And I call that duty dating. Why? Because first of all, you're going to practice being on your feminine. Second of all, you may start to like him after a while. You know, chemistry can take a while, like up to 3 dates to build for women or feminine energy people. Whereas for masculine energy people, they generally know like that because they're very visual. But I've seen it so many times with my clients where it's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, we had a great conversation, but I don't know if I like him or not. And I always say, keep at it, keep going, because I've just seen it happen so many times. It's like, one of my clients actually, she's now getting married to this guy, and she had been dating another guy and she was still kind of hung up on him. And then she went out with this guy and she was like, we had a good conversation, but I don't know if the chemistry's there. And, you know, obviously you need to have chemistry. You need 3 things: chemistry, compatibility, and communication. Chemistry is a gift from God. You can't really work on that except if it grows in the beginning, right? Compatibility, do you want the same things? And communication, that's what I work on. So she wasn't sure she had the chemistry. I said, wait and see, make out with him once and see how it goes. And the second they kissed, it was like the train was off and running. So, you know, be open. That's really important, that you're open to new ways of being and to new people that might come into your life that don't exactly fit the picture, right? Because we all tend to cultivate ideas in our heads that may or may not exist in terms of a person walking on the earth at this time, right? And I do have a few clients who, you know, are very attached to that picture in their head. Well, he has to be this, and he has to have money, and he has to look like this, and he has to have a nice house, and he has to have a design aesthetic, and he has, you know, and it gets to a point where it's like, I understand you're an amazing woman, and most of my clients are amazing, literally. Like, I tend to have just the best clients. Like I said, beautiful, intelligent women are the bulk of my practice. And, you know, I'm like, you deserve the best, of course, but we have to make sure this is an actual person, right? Not a guy from a fairy tale. So that's another thing that I deal with a lot. Okay, then when you're on the date, if you want to be in the feminine energy, sometimes women who are used to being very achieving and are very intelligent will get into it and start to like control the conversation and to do the interviewing and to keep it, you know, you don't have to do that. If you're on the feminine energy on the date, you sit back and relax and you receive. You let him make the conversation. You're okay with silence. And you know, sometimes a lot of my really smart women get themselves in trouble because they get too deep in the beginning. Look, you don't have to do this all the time. These tools are really for conflicts and awkward situations, which first dates are. But a lot of times smart women shoot themselves in the foot by getting very competitive on the date and about ideas and trying to prove that they're right. And, you know, that's usually a turnoff for a masculine energy person. So you have to also kind of watch that. It's a little bit like sailing, you know, it's like sometimes you can't go directly into the wind. You have to tack. And so the tools that I teach help you tack and really do get the results that you want in terms of if you want to be in a relationship. Even if you don't want to be in a relationship, these tools work. But if I do get wind of somebody using these tools for ill, I don't work with them anymore. But some people do use these tools for ill, and I've seen it a couple times. So that's just a caveat right there. That's how powerful this work is, basically. So if anybody has, and like I said, I wrote this book about this work. It's really a handbook, and it's meant to be referred to over and over again. It's like less than 100 pages. I think, Kerry, you're also going to put up my IG and my website, but you can reach out to me there. And I do a lot of stuff on my IG, breaking down oftentimes reality TV or movies or different examples in life, because you can really, you can get examples of this work everywhere. You can listen to a couple at a table, and if a conflict is happening, I guarantee you it's a power struggle between the feminine and masculine energy, almost like 99% of the time. So it's very gratifying to see that a lot. And I break down the dynamics a lot using reality TV and other examples on my IG. So if you want to check that out, please do. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? We have a little time. I can take like a couple questions if people want to troubleshoot what their situation is or what their dating situation, if they need advice on one or two things. That's a lot of what I do. As I was explaining to Kerry beforehand, we make appointments, but I also try to make myself available when my clients need me, because a lot of stuff is happening in the moment. So and that's not an extra fee, that's just my normal rates. I charge $200 an hour, but I often work also in short bursts. So we do 10 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever you guys need. I try to be really flexible.
It looks like Lori has a question.
Okay, great.
Lori, you can unmute yourself, I believe.
Yes, I did. So here's my question. I just don't feel like I kind of get the whole chat thing. I've got one guy who's like a total Debbie Downer, and he's just like every sad thing that's happened to him. Like he sat waiting for the mail on Saturday, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm just not compatible. I need to move on. But
have you guys met? Because I don't like it to be too. No? Okay, because 2 weeks max chatting before you meet.
Only chatted with him like twice, and it's just, first he talked about all his pets who had died, and I'm like, that's fine, we're talking about my pets, so okay. I was sympathetic, but the second time, he's had to unfriend someone, and now he's waiting for the mail, and it's just like.
Was there something special coming in the mail?
He said he was waiting for something that was important, and he's gonna have them find it. I'm like, okay. Do you have a happy life by any chance? You're not deleting it out.
Well, I mean, everybody out here is a fixer. Nobody's perfect. But yeah, I mean, it might be worth meeting in person. It's hard to tell, really, just on the apps, if you guys are going to have a connection or not. I see that there are a couple red flags. But he also just might be nervous. But it's up to you. You can stop talking to him if you want.
It's just kind of like the whole thing. Like I'm talking to this other guy, and he's like, okay, do you have kids? No, he has kids, and it's just kind of like, it's just not going anywhere. And I feel like, I don't know if I'm not asking enough questions, or he's expecting me to ask questions, or
okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
If that's what's happening and it's going too long, you can say, I've really enjoyed chatting with you online. However, I feel more comfortable meeting in person. What do you think about that? So I didn't ask you, do you want to be cherished or do you want to be respected? Which one do you want more?
Cherished.
Okay, so if you want to be cherished, then you're going to be leading with a feeling statement, an I statement with your feelings. So I don't feel comfortable chatting online. Okay. Then what do you think about meeting in person? See how you're soliciting his thoughts. And even if a man doesn't know these tools, this is going to start to put him at ease. Okay. Also, it's going to show you, is this guy just chatting online? Because a lot of people get on these apps and they actually are in relationships. So when you do get in a relationship, you have to make sure that you ask for social and sexual monogamy. Okay. It's not just sexual monogamy these days. Because I'm having a lot of people going on dates from guys that they meet on these apps only to find, oh, this guy's actually married. He didn't put that in his profile, but after a few dates, then you find out, oh, he's married, So sometimes guys are hesitant to meet because they have another relationship going on. And so that's why I'm saying it's like a week, 2 weeks max. You got to move that date out of the texting and into like real life, at least a phone call. And ideally you're dating 3 guys at a time, but not having intercourse with any of them. We save the intercourse for the commitment, not because I'm adhering to some 1950s ideal, but because when women have intercourse, and that includes oral, anal, and vaginal, we bond. we release oxytocin, we marry emotionally, okay? And it doesn't always happen, but it often happens. So I do advise people to wait on that until you get the commitment.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone
Anyone-
else have? Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Kerry.
Oh, I was just asking the same thing. If anyone else has a question, comment. Okay, Abby has a question.
I'll try and sum it up as quickly as possible. So I'm I'm dating my late husband's best friend, but he passed away 3 years in July. We kind of just started making it more official, but I feel like there's a lot of differences, and I'm trying to decide whether to continue, like at what point do you know whether to kind of keep pursuing it versus, maybe it's not going to work out and maybe it's just kind of convenient right now.
Right. Okay. Okay. Is your end goal to get married again?
I haven't decided for sure. I feel like I would like to. I think he's indifferent and doesn't really care to. He kind of doesn't see marriage as a thing.
But looking into long-term mating?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And we've talked, and like if a relationship doesn't work out with us, we're still going to be like best friends. He's more of an introvert, I'm more of an extrovert. I want to travel the world. He hasn't left like the county we live in hardly. He's never been on an airplane.
But is he open? Is he open to new ways of being?
He's open to it.
Okay.
He says he's open to it, but there's so much change, I feel like, for him that I don't know if it's just talk and then I'm going to find out it's not going to happen.
Well, we'll see once we plan the trip to Africa, right?
Right. Exactly.
Are you guys in a relationship now?
Yeah, we're just kind of finally making it more public, I would say, where like, referring to each other as boyfriend, girlfriend. We're going to go date night tomorrow night. And, I don't know. I guess I get in my head a lot, like the chemistry's there, the compatibility is there, the communication is there for the most part. I feel like we can talk about anything, although sometimes he doesn't care to talk about himself a lot and how he's feeling, but like,
that's okay. We can get his ideas on things. Are you wanting to be cherished, respected, or respected, cherished?
Probably cherished, respected.
Okay, so that's okay. I want you to take his feelings off your plate. Unless he's puking or bleeding, don't worry about his feelings. Let's focus on your feelings and his ideas. And then that just kind of simplifies it and makes it easier, and it prevents you from getting into that over-giving role, which leads to you becoming his mommy. You know what I'm saying? And a nag and women get stereotyped. We fall into these roles.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want that.
Right.
So you have the chemistry, compatibility, and communication. That's a really big step.
Mm-hmm.
Is he 51% valuable? Because no one's out here perfect.
I would say at least yes. I mean, he's
okay. Then we're keeping him for now.
Yeah. He's a gentleman. He's very sweet and puts me and the girls first. He also puts work at the top of his priority list, which
that's normal for a man.
Yeah.
But I like that he's cherishing your feelings. That's very important.
Yeah. I mean, we've been hanging out since, right after my husband passed. And so he's been with me from the beginning of my grief process and has been extremely supportive.
I mean, it sounds good. A lot of times we question things, even if they are good, because we want to control things and we're uncomfortable being vulnerable.
Right.
But unfortunately, the only way to control something is to wreck it. So, it sounds to me like you're trying to game it a little bit. Like, is it going to work out? Should I bother being vulnerable? Which is totally normal. But just set yourself free, because look, we're humans. We don't know what's going to happen. As much as we like to say, I know this is going to happen and this, that's, go to an astrologer, a psychic, it doesn't work. I mean, sometimes those things are insightful. I'm not saying that, but first of all, the future is always changing. So take it with a grain of salt. And the other thing is that, you know, vulnerability is a key part of being feminine and also of experiencing the magic of the moment. And of course, when we're vulnerable, we also have the potential to experience pain. But if we're not vulnerable, we don't have the potential to experience pleasure. And it does seem like pain will find us regardless. So we might as well be vulnerable.
Right. Well, and that's why I'm like, I don't know if I'm just kind of in fear, you know, based on my past experience, or am kind of trying to talk myself out of it for some reason because I'm afraid that, you know, something could happen again.
Well, yeah, something could happen again, but don't talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
You know, let's see how it unfolds. So far, he sounds good. He doesn't sound like a criminal, or he doesn't sound abusive, and he sounds like he's cherishing you, and you guys have a good connection. And you know, try not to think about the future so much as just like the next right thing, you know?
Yeah, that's what I try to do. And when I do focus on like just the current and the here and now, I'm happier and less stressed.
Yeah.
But I can't help that darn brain of mine sometimes.
I know. It's like, if you have a spiritual practice or a meditation practice, because it's a lot like meditation. It's just, okay, I see those thoughts, but I'm averting my attention. I'm going to look over here. And so
I don't, but
it's something that you have to train yourself, and it takes time, but you can change it. You can dial the volume down a little bit on some of those negative thoughts. And then the other thing I would say is, like, you know, I mentioned earlier, see if his words and deeds line up. So far, it sounds like they do. That's also a very good sign.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I'll take one more question, Kerry.
Okay. Anyone else have a question?
No. Exploit
Well,
me.
if someone is not going to ask, I'll ask the widow question. I know I heard this in another presentation, and they said, how do you address the widow thing? A lot of widows have children. How do you deal with, like, you know, it's difficult, you know, you have to find a babysitter, and, you know, you definitely want someone to respect your time, because, you know, you've had to find a babysitter. It's not like, you know, when you're divorced and you have 50-50 custody, you know. So when do you tell someone that you're widowed? How do you kind of get them to respect that, you know, child issue?
You know, I think when you're having conversations with people, it will probably come up organically. I don't think it's something that you need to hide or to tiptoe around at all, you know. A lot of times people are hesitant to be upfront with who they are and what they want, and that just ultimately is a time waster. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, dump all your stuff on a guy, but, you know, you're widowed, you have children, that's a part of your life, you know. So obviously, like, you know, give him a chance. Schedules a date, but if he cancels on you, then yeah, you can tell him, oh, I feel bad, you know, or whatever it is, if it's frivolous. But is there like a specific, have you had a bad reaction to it, or?
It does put some men off, and you will get the strangest comments, that is for sure. Like, did you kill him? And just weird, just kind of, yeah, off the wall. But I guess it goes back to what you said. It pays to be vulnerable. That's part of being vulnerable, is being open about who you are and your experiences in your life.
And if a guy says, I mean, maybe he's uncomfortable, so he says one thing, but if he repeatedly says like things that are non-cherishing, you know, of your feelings, or flippant about your pain, pay attention. That's not a great sign, you know.
Sorry, that's my dog.
No worries. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does make a lot of sense.
Okay. Okay, good.
Well, Chloe, thank you so much for chatting with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And I will put your contact information in the group so everybody can check you out on Instagram and visit your website. But we really, really appreciate it. This has been great.
Oh,
Yes,
you're
thank you
so
so much.
welcome. You are so welcome. And it's been a pleasure meeting you guys. And I'm also doing, if you guys want to check it out, I do free groups every Thursday night on the audio app Quilt at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to have a little more taste of this work, please join me there as well.
And I'm sorry, you said Chloe it was on Wednesdays?
Thursdays.
Thursdays, okay.
Thursday night, Quilt. It's another audio only app. I was doing some stuff on Clubhouse, but I stopped that now. So now I'm just on Quilt.
Okay. I'll definitely mention that too.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.